the Alphans go to investigate a gigantic spaceship. They soon learn that the distress call they received has been going on automatic for many years. While Commander Koenig meets the Darians who have survived a disaster that hit their generation starship years ago, he sees the good. He sees the beautiful people trying to preserve their history, including its genetic history. They have a plastic board that's in easy reach of those who might want to shove someone's head through it. Spoiler alert. That contain all of the genetic material of the Darians. So when they reach a planet that can support Darien life, they will start the race over again. But how have these people managed to survive all this time when most of their ship is destroyed and in a state of wilderness? Well, Alan Carter and Paul Morrow find barbarians living in the ruins of the rest of the ship. They, in turn, hunt down and destroy unclean mutations. And that's where we discover the horrible secret of the Darians. Joan Collins and others have been living all this time because of organ transplants from other healthy people in the wilderness parts of the ship. A security guard named Lowry. In Star Trek, Lowry would be a red shirt. Star Trek knocked off people left and right for a thrill. The death of the week, they had our main characters plus one guy go down to a planet, and that one guy would always get killed by the aliens. Space 1999 didn't do that as often. In this case, Lowry is just a security guy who whistles, and he's kind of a happy-go-lucky fellow. Well, he and Dr. Russell get captured by the wilderness people. And then we see one of two dwarves who is obviously unclean to these people and not worthy to be sacrificed to their gods, i.e., the upper class. She's put in a chamber where this blinding white light and this loud noise come in and disintegrate her. Then Lowry is examined, and we see that one of his hands has only half a finger on it. And Lowry is dragged yelling for help, pleading with Dr. Russell to do something, into the chamber. The light gets bright, the noise gets incredibly loud, and he's disintegrated because the upper class doesn't want to use someone like that for their organ transplants or to fill up their genetic bank. I'll leave the rest of it for you to discover. On the excellent website Catacombs of the Moon, the writer discusses that he was inspired by two things: the idea of Aryans, or the pure breed, foisted on the world by the Nazis, and the revelation that the survivors of an airplane crash in the Andes, which was very much in the news at the time, resorted to cannibalism to survive. The Generation Starship story has a long history in science fiction, the most prominent being Robert Heinlein's Orphans of the Sky. Around this time, The Star Lost was a short-lived TV series. In the case of Mission of the Darians, their ship has also undergone a disaster, and it leads to the split in the class system. The killing of the security guard puts it very bluntly that this is what Moonbase Alpha might have to do in a crisis someday. They might have to make truly tough choices, and that could lead into a whole area of, well, who's superior, who's inferior, who gets to live, who gets to be used for spare parts. It's a pretty potent concept, And we like this guy, Lowry. We hardly know him, but his character is sketched in very deftly. So when he's being dragged to his death, we feel something. And at the end of the episode, the other characters have felt something and have a sense of loss about losing one of the limited number of Alphans there are. So, as a commentary on what people will do to survive and what people will do to survive as part of a larger race, I'm not doing this horrible thing for me. I'm doing it to preserve the race. This is the type of 70s and 60s science fiction about human issues. At the end, Carter asked Koenig what would he do in the position of the Darians, and he basically blows it off. My favorite scene in all of TV science fiction is from the Space 99 episode Collision Course. The traveling moon is about to be hit by an asteroid. The Alphans watch tensely as an eagle flown by Alan Carter has technical problems. Commander Koenig is uncharacteristically emotional about Carter. He's always seemed to like the guy, but here he's moving the timeline to get his bestest pal a shot at getting the job done and surviving. Eventually the bombs blow up, the moon is saved, but a radiation cloud is blocking Alpha from seeing if Carter's eagle survived. Long and short, Koenig flies into the cloud, finds Carter's eagle hanging in space. Carter is unconscious but okay. But from inside Carter's eagle, Koenig sees a much bigger problem than just an asteroid. The moon is going to collide with a massive planet. Operation Shockwave is cooked up, where a row of space mines will create a shockwave in the airless void of space, pushing the moon and the planet apart. None of this is based on science, but I don't care. I don't care about accurate science. If you make me believe something for 40 minutes in a television show or 2 hours in a movie, I enjoy it. Boom, the end. Koenig takes an eagle towards the planet, and a spaceship intercepts his eagle. My big problem with the episode is that the alien ship looks way too much like an Earth vehicle. The alien craft opens up and swallows Koenig's eagle. Now we come to the scene I love above all others in television science fiction. It's a Gothic wreck, cobwebbed with barely adequate lighting from the 70s and no blinking control panels. Sitting on a throne. She's old, ancient even. Her name is Ara, Queen of Etheria, the planet that Alpha is about to collide with. Koenig instinctively trusts her and even puts away his staple gun. Ara tells Koenig their meeting is not a matter of chance. The moon being blown out of the Earth's orbit isn't just some accident. This isn't elaborated on, but we get to think about it. How could this be a meeting that was meant to be if everything that's happened up to this point was some accident? Ara says, "Poor John Koenig, how you belittle yourself in the scheme of things, and yet how small you are to be so great." This is the sort of conversation Koenig has been thirsty for since the moon left the Earth's orbit. It's an expression of the series' theme of man finding his place in a hostile universe. Ara claims this collision has been 1,000,000 years in the making. Their worlds are meant to collide. You and I are two vital drops in the boundless ocean of time. We must not fail our destiny. What will happen to us? You shall continue. Your odyssey shall know no end. My people will take on another form. And what must we do to help you achieve all this? Ara is a bit slippery. If she'd come out with some hard evidence, something he could bring back to Alpha, he could stop Project Shockwave and let the collision happen. Although we and Koenig have been impressed by her, telling Koenig to just let something he knows will lead to Alpha's destruction shades our feelings about Ara. She might be a slightly batty zealot with no care for the moon and the people on it. This is that jump between faith and science that comes up so often in science fiction. It came up later in Contact. It came up in Interstellar. The whole idea of, with all this super science that we think is going to give us a wonderful future, well, you still got to just go with your gut sometimes. Knowing when to go with your gut and when to use your intellect to override your gut is what being a commander is all about. The scene is interrupted by a cut back to Alpha. The Operation Shockwave is going forward. Back on the ship, Koenig sounds legitimately anxious. He might believe her, but other Alphans will have to take him on his word. Ara sharply tells him that this is a challenge to his leadership. Their time together is up. Ara has much to do. I go to shape the future of eternity, and I need your help. She fades away. Koenig doesn't know how this is going to work out. Like, well, the moon will orbit another planet, or the moon will do this, that, the other. But he knows there is a reason for all of this tragedy and horrible stuff to be happening. I hope you watch that scene, even if you don't watch the episode. It's a key scene in science fiction. Even if you haven't watched a single episode of Space 1999, you should seek out the Season 1 episode, Dragon's Domain. I think Space 1999 has been very misunderstood by some people. It's not Star Trek. It's not trying to be Star Trek. It's kind of a mix of science fiction and the Hammer horror films. It's a space gothic. The second season went straight down the tube and became just a generic kiddie action show with Maya, who was very, very smart. But season 1 was just so strange, and the strangest episode in its way is Dragon's Domain. The moon is flying through space, and on the base, a character we've never seen before, Tony Cellini, is having nightmares. Years ago, he was involved in a 4-person ship that went out exploring from Earth. The ship came upon a collection of empty spaceships floating around a planet. They docked with one, which had some interesting or odd readings, which you should never pay attention to interesting or odd readings when you're in space, okay? So anyway, they dock, and according to Tony, a monster appeared and killed the other 3 members of the crew. Tony escaped in the command capsule and came back to Earth. No one believed his story. Gee, it sounds a little like Aliens, doesn't it? Now, in the present time, the moon has come upon these dead spaceships, and Tony sees a way for redemption. Actually, redemption, not redemption. It's an episode that when I ever talk to people about Space 1999, it comes up in the first minute. Because to a kid, I think I was 8 or 9 when I saw this, seeing this freaking monster was terrifying enough. But then, what the monster does to its victims is just mind-blowing. You just did not see that kind of thing on TV. I'll leave it there. You really owe it to yourself to check this out if you like science fiction horror, because it never gets brought up in discussions of such movies because, of course, it's a TV show. Thanks for stopping by.